everybody's support system and the definition of it is totally different. And I'm a firm believer that only time and experience will really show you who's for you. And that was something that it took me years to learn. Like I'm talking 7, 8 years in this thing to really finally grasp the fact that while we spend so much time trying to focus on getting support from friends and family, that desire for the support from them, it only comes from them being familiar to us. So we naturally, as humans, we want support from the people we're the most comfortable around. But the reality is when you step into entrepreneurship and saying that you want to build a brand and make all this money and be impactful, you got to look beyond the people that you're comfortable with. And that's like, I think, and I said this in the live, it's like 1% of like, I mean, think of all the people in the world that your business or your brand or your organization could serve. And like you're focused on the 1% and putting all your energy into getting it from them. Like, is it really that important to you? And it really, it should be no. And so I know that we all want, you know, pats on the back from friends and family, but the reality is like most people only understand as far as they've gone. And I don't know about you, but like my aunts and my uncles and like even my dad, like they've never gone to college, most of them. They've never stepped outside of the state. And that's because the people that came before them, that was the example. So they never went that far. So you can't really expect people to understand the vision that God gave you or the dreams that you have, because most of the time, everything is context. They don't understand it because they've never experienced it. You can't take it personal. And I think as Black women, we take a lot of things personally. And in some areas, rightfully so. But when it comes down to support, we got to look past the 1%, because if you're called to speak to millions, 1% should not ruffle your feathers. Stop your period. Okay. So that's how I feel about support. And like I said, you know, I don't want anybody listening to think that I woke up and understood that. It took me years to get to that point. It took me lots of frustration and just feeling like, well, if they don't support me, the world isn't. You know, there's also a saying that goes around that I cringe, Casey, every time I hear people say, if you can't make it in your hometown, you can't make it anywhere. Well, hello, guys. I'm a living, walking testimony that I had to leave my state to meet people and get influence and start my brand. And then now I live back in my home state, and it doesn't matter where I live. I barely go to events here, and it doesn't stop anything that I'm doing. So I think we just need to like get rid of that myth of if your family and friends aren't supporting, and that's a sign that what you're doing isn't valid or it's not good enough. That is the biggest lie. We take everything so personal. And if you want to be on TV and do like just massive things, like if you want to do next level things, you got to get over the offense that you think is there. Because like you said, like they're not your enemy. They just can't understand beyond what they've experienced. That's the bottom line. And when you truly understand that, you'll be out here moving and shaking and making things happen regardless to who shows up. Like you literally, like y'all, to be honest, there are things that I have launched and done and got crickets. Like nobody signed up, but guess what? I still showed up. I still made a big deal. I always tell people, make a big deal over everything you do. I don't care if nobody signs up. I don't care if nobody buys. Make it a big deal. Like, and I think that's what one of the things that has allowed me to grow really the way that I've grown is that I make a big deal over everything I do, even if it's the first time I've done it, even if I don't know what I'm doing while I'm doing it, even if I got tech problems, any of that, I make a big deal over everything that I do. And what ends up happening as a result of that is like when you get excited about your vision, when you get excited about your business, people don't got no choice but to fall in line. Whether 10 or 5 years later, like period. So you got to get excited and make a big deal about your stuff.